Hello everybody, I'm Kate Cass, and it's that time of year again. The time where Mr. Nando v Movies sends out a prompt to any nerd with an opinion and a half-decent microphone to celebrate our favorite scenes from the marvelous to the excellent to the villainous. This year, we're tasked with highlighting one musical scene. Now, there's an interesting choice. Not only will it be more challenging than ever to keep the copyright holders off our backs, but this might be the broadest category yet. It's not specific to a franchise, it's not even specific to a genre or an archetype. If the scene has got music in it that elevates the mood of the moment, it's fair game. As a fan of musicals, I did find this challenge exciting, but I also found it kind of overwhelming. There was just too much to choose from. I figured most people would go for movies, so I thought about tackling a TV show instead. Problem there is that a lot of my favorite shows have musical numbers in them, many of which carry strong thematic elements or are just fantastic. Some I've talked about before and some I haven't. It felt like it was becoming harder to choose a subject, not easier. But then, a spark ignited. A very familiar and friendly spark.
Do you know you are my very best friends?
It's kind of weird to think that I'm probably going to be the only person on this playlist who covers My Little Pony. If this was 7 or so years ago, it would probably be every 5th entry. Friendship is Magic certainly left a lasting impression on this channel. It's still one of the most popular franchises for me to talk about on my channel, if I ever get around to actually talking about it. My passion was so uncontainable that I actually joined the team over on Equestria Daily as an editorial writer, if I ever get around to actually writing about it. So I'm going to rectify the common complaint that I haven't talked about My Little Pony in ages, while also using it as an excuse to hop on a bandwagon. 2 birds, 1 stone, guys. Given that there are over 100 songs throughout My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and that's not even counting the movie, or Equestria Girls, or the current generation, you think it'd still be tough for me to choose one scene out of the batch to give the spotlight for this challenge. But once I realized I wanted to do an MLP song, it was clear that there was only ever going to be one choice for this.
This day is going to be perfect, the kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small.
This day, Aria turned me into a brony. And to explain how, I'm gonna have to give you some context. This is a song from the season 2 finale, A Canterlot Wedding, an episode that introduces us to 2 very important ponies in Twilight Sparkle's life who we had never seen or heard of before this. Her older brother, Shining Armor, and his fiancée and Twilight's old full sitter, Princess Miamore Cadenza.
Princess Cadence is fine.
A common complaint of the story when it aired was that these 2 had not been established before this episode, but not only are siblings whose existence isn't acknowledged until the show needs it to be extremely common in television, but when it came to Cadence, I think it worked to the episode's advantage. Since we have no preconceptions about Cadence from previous appearances, we just have Twilight's word to go off of on what kind of pony she is. An image that contrasts significantly with the pony we meet, some pony who is rude, dismissive, and two-faced. It often gets overlooked what little information we have about Cadence going in. The fact that while Twilight is a reliable narrator, and we can probably take her word for it that something is up here, we're not entirely sure what. Is Twilight misremembering her relationship with her old foal sitter? Did Cadence just grow into a more selfish pony? It does happen. The only clue we have this isn't just the result of 2 friends growing into different ponies is when Twilight witnesses her brainwashing her brother. Wow, the wedding hasn't even happened yet and already Cadence is controlling her husband's life. Ho-ho!
You see, it's funny because marriage is terrible.
Eventually, Cadence drops the act and shows her true colors once Twilight's accusations start to become a problem by encasing our main hero in a flaming hell circle and trapping her in an endless catacomb of long-forgotten caves under the kingdom. Yeah, you'll probably find this moment in a lot of sarcastically titled My Little Pony is a Kid Show compilations. With the only obstacle standing in the way of whatever her goal is here out of the way, Cadence revels in her victory, how everything is going to plan. And, well, you know how we say that the best part of Disney movies is when the villain gets the song? That is a philosophy this show really takes to heart here.
I could care less about the dress. I won't partake in any cake. Vows, well, I'll be lying when I say.
This day Aria just exudes Disney Renaissance energy. It's evident from the second it starts playing, as our malicious alicorn sings with a Broadway caliber range to a sweeping orchestra that is way too good for a show like this. At least that's what 2012 me thought. And as a villain song, it would still be great, but wait, there's more. Turns out the reason Cadence has been acting off is because the pony we've been following all this time isn't Princess Cadence. This Cadence is a shapeshifter, known as Queen Chrysalis, posing as the real princess to place her love under her control to invade and take over a kingdom, while the real Cadence is locked away and powerless to stop her. And before anyone points this out, yes, it's eerily like Ursula's plan in The Little Mermaid. You could play a lot of the scenes here side by side with that movie, and I know there are several video parodies of doing just that.
Soon I'll have that little mermaid and the ocean will be mine.
Now the show has introduced us to the real Cadence, suddenly the song becomes a duet between the real Cadence and the fake Cadence. One who is gloating in solitude at how her deception has been a success, and one who is beaten down and crestfallen, but still speaks her heart and finds her strength again with Twilight's help. Having her introduction match the image we saw in Twilight's childhood memories. Some pony who is loving, sincere, strong, and authentic. This is the first time we're really getting to know either of these characters, and it gets across their contrasting personalities and motives really well. Britt McKillop's performance here is exceptional as well. She's basically using the same voice to portray two wildly different characters and is pulling it off magnificently. The transition from Disney princess to Disney villain is effortless and sounds absolutely beautiful.
No, I do not love the groom in my heart. There is no room, for I also love the groom. All my thoughts he does consume.
It's kind of a shame Cadence only has a couple of singing moments in the show after this, and none of them are songs all her own, because this duet stole the show and was the highlight of the entire episode for a lot of viewers. Maybe that's why Cadence didn't get another song. They knew they couldn't top this. The music had always been a highlight for MLP, with a few real showstoppers that stood out in seasons 1 and 2. Heck, I know more than one person who was sold on the show just because of Winter Wrap-Up, but this was on a whole other level, more grand and theatrical than any of the others. But hold your horses, every pony, because this is where it gets interesting. See, back in the day, the music of MLP was very popular. Remixing it, dubbing it, covering it, and analyzing it were all common practices. There are many talented musicians and performers in the Brony fandom who studied these songs. So if, say, the composer snuck in a little musical reference, someone was gonna find it. And someone did. Daniel Ingram, the songwriter and composer for Friendship is Magic, responded to fans when they discovered what he did. You see, the way the song was arranged has a reference to how the scene and song are playing out. There was actually a double meaning in the song. The song is in the key of D flat major, just like Winter Wrap-Up. That means that the root chord is a D flat major chord. Usually an A flat major chord will lead into a D flat major. This is the 5-1 chord progression, and it is also known as the authentic cadence.
I don't fear that I may lose him to one who wants to use him, not care for love and cherish him each day.
Now it seems to resolve to a sadder chord at the end of the phrase. Instead of ending on the D flat major around 116, it lands on the B flat minor, the relative minor of the D flat major.
In my heart there is no room, but I still want him to be all mine.
Now when a chord progression seems to be heading to the root chord, but lands on the relative minor instead, that is called a deceptive cadence.
I know. Right?
Now I will admit, a good amount of that is over my head. There are YouTubers far more qualified than me to talk about stuff like this, and I did have to ask for some help on figuring out all this music theory speak. But what I could easily understand about this, and why I wanted to include this bit of trivia here, is that much thought went into the composition of the music for this show. For My Little Pony, this was at a point in time where that was still surprising. A moment where you saw that the people who worked on this show really cared about the assignment and dedicated a lot of energy to thinking of things like that maybe a lot of people wouldn't have noticed, but those who did would really admire it. A lot of the effort to make this cartoon targeted to little girls, a demographic that is so often scoffed at and seen as lesser, the best it could possibly be, can be found in this 2-minute duet.
Shining armor will be mine, all mine.
And I think that's why I claim that This Day Aria made me a brony. It's important to note here that I didn't watch MLP in order when I finally gave in and decided to see what all the fuss was about. I I watched scattered episodes based around popular clips and characters I saw. There's a reason Luna Eclipse of all things was the first episode of the show I saw. And what I'd seen so far was pretty cute. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing amazing, nothing I was going to become a fanatic about, but alright. A Candlelight Wedding was maybe the 6th episode I watched. I could be wrong about that. I was about 2 weeks into this curiosity. Part 1 was more of the same. Cute, fun fare, but nothing to write home about, although the stakes did seem to be higher than anything I'd seen up to that point. Then came Part 2. When the threat was clear, the tension was rising, then This Day Aria began to play, and it absolutely blew me away. Everything from the staging to the animation to the performance to the score was grand and impressive. And when the song wrapped up and the story continued, I think that was the very moment where I said, I get it. I get the hype. I get the enthusiasm. I get why people say this version of My Little Pony breaks boundaries and shatters expectations. Because that's exactly what was happening to me. This show is good. It's really huffing good. It took me back to being a kid again, basking in the televised glow of amazing songs and larger-than-life stakes, signified through the powerful emotions that can build bonds and be harnessed to overcome any challenge. And on the cusp of adulthood, I had the technical knowledge to appreciate all the hard work and passion that went into the show, and especially the sequence that was making me feel these things. There are songs from MLP that are on par, if not better, than This Day Aria. The Magic Inside, the Kieran Tale, The Magic of Friendship Grows, and almost any song by the Flim Flam Brothers are definitely up there and could make her videos on their own. But This Day Aria stands out for the same reason that The Avengers is still my favorite Marvel movie, because without its impact, I probably wouldn't love anything else in this series, at least not as much as I do. And almost a decade later, sheesh. That's kind of crazy to think about. It's where I finally understood the magic behind My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And I never looked back. But what do you guys think? Definitely let me know what you think of this one musical scene, and if you are a fellow MLP fan, what's your favorite song from Friendship is Magic? I'd be very curious to know. Thanks again to Nando V Movies for creating yet another fun challenge for us content creators, and maybe I'll see you again next year for an amazing scene. I don't know. Okay, this has gone on long enough. Roll the credits. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I know this is a different video from what I usually do, but it's always fun to do these prompts. Thanks again to Nando V Movies for creating this challenge, and thank you especially to my friend Mo Ye, who helped me understand the technicals of the score behind this song. Thank you so much. I would have been so lost without you. And even though this isn't one of my proper reviews, I'm gonna give a very special thanks to my patrons here who help support my content no matter what it is, including David L. Sproul, Sebastian Canito of Cinemageddon Reviews, Chelsea Crandall, Hawk Hero, Jinx Productions, and Wait in the Wings. If you're new here and you'd like to join these fine people in supporting my content while getting cool exclusive perks, you can check out my Patreon page at the link in the description, as well as some other social media if you'd like to check out any of those. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.